Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MDRN Future Podcast. This is episode number 6. My name is KL Smith, and today on the show, we're going to talk about hopefully 4 different topics. We'll see how long we're going to go, but the main one being Tesla Battery and Powertrain Day for investors. That's the bread and butter of today's show. We're going to focus the most on that. Lucid Motors had an announcement yesterday that we're going to discuss. And then I'm going to get into the rolling blackouts that are happening in California with PG&E, and then round it out with some pandemic hobbies that I've been, well, really it's not me, it's my family has been involved with since March or so. So let's jump right into it with Tesla Battery and Investor Day. So back in, was it maybe April, was the initial date for the Tesla Battery and Powertrain Day. We heard basically well into the earlier portion of the month that was going to be delayed. It was delayed up until, I think, June at the time, and then we heard another delay that is now the official day, September 22nd. So anticipation for this event has been very high for Tesla for a while. All of the delays coming really in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I think that pandemic has really shaken up a lot of things, but at the same time, it's probably offered up a lot of opportunity to further advance some of the things that Tesla was going to mention back in April. So, anticipation is high, it's super elevated. I'm really excited about a lot of different things. As the name of the event suggests, I think we're going to hear about batteries and powertrains. There's probably going to be a couple curveballs thrown in there that we did not expect to hear. But for the most part, this is pretty straightforward. And there's been a lot of speculative discussion on this already. We're about a month out, a little over a month out. And I'm super, super excited about seeing what Tesla has to offer. So let's hop right into, all of this kind of buildup. And I want to point out that one particular announcement that kind of came out of left field for me based on the placement and timing of it was Panasonic's announcement back at the end of July. One of the executives was in an interview, and he mentioned that the Tesla 2170 batteries will receive a 20% boost in energy density over the next 5 years. Now, the announcement itself, again, that's great news, but the announcement itself from Panasonic on behalf of Tesla made it a little odd for me, and it really stuck out because Battery Day is coming up, and I felt like initially Panasonic wasn't ready to say something like that at the time when this event was initially planned. But I feel like they've kind of weighed what's going on, dry electrode, high bar systems, all these acquisitions from Tesla, and this buildup that they've seen, I think, with the momentum of the stock, and they were like, we need to say something right now. So the implications for this seem very intentional, and that one, they want to signal to the automotive industry that they're for real. Tesla's improvements that we're all going to hear in about 30 days won't immediately spell doom for the rest of the automotive industry and the battery suppliers that are helping move it forward. They're a prominent player as well. The other thing I think is that it allows them to maintain a really close relationship with Tesla as they continue to advance, saying, hey, we're pushing the envelope forward, you guys are pushing it forward. So we need to continue to work together to make sure that this relationship is very fruitful ultimately in the end. So I think that's a key indication that they're serious and they want to continue to push it forward. But this news from Tesla, I think, is going to be a really not shocking revelation for the rest of the automotive industry, but it's going to put them on the back foot with how far they need to advance in order to catch up. And Panasonic can kind of be the stopgap. So if you combine Panasonic's 20% boost in energy density with some of the things I think Tesla is working on, especially with that dry electrode battery process, then I think what we're going to see is some pretty crazy advancements with what they're doing. So what the energy density improvement for Panasonic means is basically the same thing that we're going to get into with Tesla's a very specific speculative announcements, but it's improved range and output with the same number of batteries, which means that your car is just more efficient, could drive further with that same weight, essentially, for better energy. You can get the same range that you're getting right now with these new batteries, with fewer batteries, which means the price could come down, which is, I think, very important for the optics of all of this. And then for some of the larger vehicles like the Cybertruck or even Megapacks or the Semi, then you're going to get better range, bigger battery packs, right? And those vehicles that are coming to market that are a lot larger will have the power that they need to hit the ranges and the payloads and things that they could be potentially carrying. Those things all matter. And that's why that energy density is so important there. In the case where I think that, at least on the Tesla energy side, that this matters is, right, mega packs and power walls, where some of those batteries can be repurposed for those and provide even better energy efficiency for your home or for cities or whatever during blackouts, which again, we're going to talk about a little bit of that here later. So getting specifically on Tesla rather than analyzing the Panasonic portion of this, let's talk about two acquisitions that were made very recently. Everyone talks about them: the Hybar Systems and Maxwell acquisition. Hybar is, first off, both of these make a ton of sense. We've had Elon talk about vertical integration, all of the roadblocks and challenges that they face with having supply to meet the demand, especially when it comes to battery production. That is so crucial. And I think that this is an important piece, at least from the acquisition standpoint, of making this a reality. So I am very interested in the Maxwell portion of this more than Hybar Systems, because Hybar Systems is, really plainly, it just makes sense. They're a battery cell production company that had a global footprint. That I think they had 2 places in China, they had some in Europe, they had some in North America, so Canada. So I really feel like they just made sense. If you need to make battery cell production in China, who are you going to buy? Well, there's this company, and oh wait, Hybar has some in China. Oh wait, they have some in Europe. Oh, so that acquisition just makes sense. It helps with the local supply chain there and keeps costs down, and they can continue to produce things. The Maxwell acquisition, I think, caught a lot of people off guard, not because of the acquisition itself, more around Maxwell put out this basically like, hey, we got this dry electrode process that we think is going to be revolutionary for the industry. Tesla is testing this thing, and then all of a sudden they make the acquisition, they shut everything down, and no one else has access to this technology except for Tesla. So there's a lot of things that are happening right now, I think, behind the scenes that are really speeding up this process to get the dry electrode battery inside of Tesla automotive vehicles. So the process in and of itself does the same thing that basically I just described earlier. I don't want to get too heavy into what the dry electrode process is, but I expect that we should see things like improved efficiencies when producing the batteries, which was a big point of this. You can produce faster batteries, less expensive, so that's cutting down on costs on the manufacturing side. And you couple that with their in-house battery cell production with lower costs, then you're able to pump out batteries faster, and it costs less, and it's coming from your own company. You're not paying Panasonic or CATL. You're not paying all of these LG Chem. You're not paying these companies to produce your batteries. You're just making them. So that's really important. And the efficiencies that they found from this play the same type of role that the energy density does. It's more efficient. So you can get the same range with fewer batteries. You can get further range with the same number of batteries. You can beef up your batteries for the bulkier vehicles, the Semi and the Cybertruck, and get great range and efficiencies when pulling payloads and things like that. So all of these things are just like super common sense. The thing that I think is super important when these discussions are coming to light out of this event is how they translate to the consumer, really, and investors. So, it's easy to understand. They have to communicate this super clearly, which sometimes Elon has a trouble doing, I think, when they're talking about this. But they need to talk about like how this is going to result in lower prices, increased vehicle ranges, faster charging rates, and longer battery lifespans. Those are really the four things that matter the most when they talk about some of these new processes that they're bringing in: the new dry electrode process, the in-house battery cell production from Hybar, and this supposed Fremont facility where they're going to be making the batteries that there's been a lot of speculation on and reports that it exists. It's happening right now. We may get to see it during the event. Those are all things that I feel like need to come to light, and it's translated very, very succinctly and clearly in lower prices. Again, one more time: lower prices, increased vehicle ranges, faster charging rates, and longer battery lifespans. Those are things that are super, super critical that people need to understand almost immediately. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see something kind of happen with the prices either right then on the spot during the day on September 22nd, or shortly thereafter, which has happened in the past with the rollout of new tech and whatnot in Tesla vehicles. Now, one thing that I think is also important, and I mentioned it just a second ago, is that Fremont battery cell production facility. Now, I mentioned Hybar Systems being in China, and I feel like the natural progression for that is for them to roll up that same thing that they're going to do in Fremont and in China, and then in Berlin, and then in Austin. And once they get that rolling, this all matters because they'll have their own in-house production, battery cell production. They'll have folks like Panasonic making batteries for them. They'll have folks in China like CATL making batteries for them. And I think that they're going to look for a couple other battery suppliers to help them with the demand. And this is so, so important to understand because Elon mentioned this in his investor call. I want to say it was at the end of 2019 that he semi-jokingly said that they could get into the mining business. And that was at the annual shareholders meeting in 2019. And then in Q2 of this past year on the investor call, he again made reference to materials, specifically nickel, and trying to secure that. So I think one of the surprises we will see from all this battery cell production is either one, they get into the mining business, which would be, I won't say surprising, but just kind of obvious, I guess. But that they have figured out a way to secure materials to keep up with the volume of production that they're going to have from all of these places coming in. And the volume we should expect from a vehicle standpoint if they release a Cybertruck and all of these pre-orders that currently exist, if they actually come to light, and we actually see whatever 750,000, whatever reservation number it's at right now, as a real thing, man, that's a lot of vehicles that they have to pump out between the Model 3, the Model Y, the Cybertruck, the S, the X, which are likely to also get refreshes after this, which I'll get into that here in a second when we talk about powertrains. But this is super, super important to pay attention to because they have to keep up with the production. And I think it's going to be important when we hear about the relationships that they're building with folks like Panasonic supplying batteries, and also what they're going to be capable of doing in-house for their battery production and the materials that they're going to need in order to do so. So all of this is coming together to make one cohesive, fine machine, well-oiled, the machine that builds the machine. They got to figure this out, and I think that is going to be a crucial, crucial piece in all of this. So that's really what I expect to hear from a battery side of things. I'm going to say it one more time, guys. One more. Lower prices, increased vehicle ranges, faster charging rates, longer battery lifespans. Like those are the things that they need to say. I really don't care too much about, it's this kilowatt hour. Some people are going to really focus on the kilowatt hours and the amp hours and all of those things that really do matter when you talk about raw numbers. But from everyday consumers, those are the things that they need to hear when you communicate a lot of that. And all of these will obviously, bleed into Tesla Energy as well with the mega packs and the power walls. And all of those things. But I expect the focal point to be really on the vehicles. Now, on the powertrains, there's been a lot of discussion about Plaid, the Plaid drivetrains and the TriMotor system. Not too long ago, Elon mentioned that he felt like it was getting too complex, so they simplified it. Then he maybe made a reference to Plaid suit and wearing Plaid, and so that also led to some speculation about, look, we know Plaid is coming. It's not like a secret or anything like that. They were testing it on the Nuremberg track with the Plaid Model S to beat the Porsche Taycan, track lap time, and then it was smashed by the Model 3, whatever, we get it. But this significant impact of the tri-motor setup is really for the Cybertruck and the Tesla Roadster. Cybertruck, I think, being the most prominent. Obviously, it's going to have a knock-on effect for all of the other vehicles, but the reason this thing needs to get done is because they showed it for the Cybertruck having a tri-motor option. We know it's going to be a thing for making the semis more efficient. And then on the Roadster, again, we saw that it's supposed to have a tri-motor build. So, I just expect this to be how powertrains are tweaking to increase overall range, performance of the vehicle, basically making the batteries better because the tech is better and it just works more efficiently. All of this should be coalesced into one big thing that just says that Tesla's vehicles are better than everybody else's. Why would you go with anyone else? Use our stuff because it's just better. So that's what I expect this to be, with some very specific notes on the dry electrode, at least for the battery, the high bar systems coming in, the facility, and then the powertrain tying in the complete 360 view on how it's all going to work together in a more efficient system. The last thing that I think could be particularly interesting, given that Tesla is going to be making their own cells and they're going to have all these powertrains, and they might be so far ahead of everyone that people just feel like kind of giving up, is that they might announce the ability to license out some of their older technologies. They've said it in the past. Elon has said it most recently, as I want to say at the beginning of August or maybe late July, he tweeted out something like that. So there could be some discussion around that. Maybe they lined up a partner. Volkswagen has been all chummy with them lately. Maybe it's them, maybe it's not, who knows? But that could be an interesting announcement. Obviously, we're going to see some type of vehicle with Plaid. Yeah, we get it. That's going to happen. I just don't expect to hear anything about solid state batteries. So nothing about solid state. We're too far away. In fact, I think that current batteries would probably get just as efficient as solid state batteries. So we'll see. So next topic, we got Lucid Motors announcement. They announced a 900 volt architecture for charging, which is supposed to charge for the upcoming Lucid Air at 20 miles per minute, if I'm not mistaken. Which translates to some really, really outstanding charge rate times, which is just phenomenal to me. And they're working with Electrify America, and they'll be compatible with 150 all the way to 350 kilowatt chargers stations. So that'll be super nice. Lucid is making a lot of headways right now. Just continuing to pump out information. They have an event on September 9th, and we get to hear more about all of these things. But I have some discussion up on that on Modern Future here soon, so you guys will probably see something there tomorrow. In the meantime, this announcement happened on Wednesday, so you can check it out if you so desire. But I'm excited for Lucid Motors just because they have a lot of things that will continue to push the EV front forward. Mainly the big one is that range, right? That 500 miles that they achieved with the Lucid Air, supposedly working on an SUV. This could be another contender. I have that article, and I talked about this in the previous episode 5, is like, who's going to contend with Tesla? Lucid is making a pretty valid case in the EV market, but really it's not about who's competing with Tesla as much as it is about like who's pushing the legacy automakers to really move their asses, so that they stop moving so slowly to get us transition on more efficient, just better performing vehicles than gas. And And frankly, if it's new companies, which is what we see a lot of times in the tech industry, it's new companies that are going to do it. And so, I applaud Lucid for really pushing the envelope and making Tesla work harder, but also making legacy automakers go, oh, we're actually really, really behind. We should just do better, be better. So I'm happy about that. Next topic for the show is the rolling blackouts. And, I brought up the Tesla Megapacks and Powerwalls as a part of this because PG&E, where a lot of these are happening over in California because of the wildfires, and this happened last year during this time, and it's happened in places like Australia. But PG&E is working with Tesla specifically to build the biggest Megapack facility in the world. I want to say it's like 700 gigawatts. 700 gigawatts. I think that's right. No, 700 megawatts up to 1.2. I gotta look. Anyway, I think I'm right there. But the facility is something that I think will really help. I've read that PG&E is attributing some of this to the fact that they have closed down coal factories in California, and this is contributing to their ability to not have power, for the grid. And so I just found this situation to be interesting, and that one, not enough people have solar. And when you think about like a big city like LA, which is where some of this is hitting the hardest, the folks that are in like buildings, like big sky rises and apartment buildings, they can't really benefit from solar in the way that they should be able to. So there's a lot of advancement that needs to happen there, but also the fact that there's just not enough batteries being deployed just to make up for some of that, and storing energy and keeping generators, right? Like the equivalent of a generator up and running in a lot of these places just don't exist. And people don't think, as homeowners, I know California area homeowning is a big thing. It's super expensive, but homeowners don't necessarily think about energy storage for blackouts either. So one article I said it's solar is contributing in this, and they're blaming solar, and I was just like, that doesn't necessarily make sense, because solar during the day is fine. It's when you get to nighttime that it's an issue. And so like really it's about like, do you have a generator? Because if you have a generator, then it doesn't matter whether or not you have solar or PG&E does a blackout because they can't have power. You're going to have power regardless because you got a generator. So I think batteries are the same way. And the moment the battery costs come down and power walls aren't basically almost 10 grand, and people can get them for $500 or $600 or $700 to store a lot of power for their homes, then I think you start seeing something that resembles not natural gas, just gasoline. I was going to say just a regular, I'd use the word natural, but a regular generator versus a battery storage generator backing up your power. So I'm wondering how quickly the transition for this will happen. I think California obviously is moving very quickly on solar. Well, as quickly as they can. I don't know about very quickly, but very quickly relative to the rest of the country on getting everyone onto solar. I know they made a lot of mandates around all new homes being built, new buildings that can get bypassed. Some of them can bypass this, but those being built with sustainable, renewable energy in mind versus relying on PG&E. So that's something that I think will be really interesting to see how that develops. And then the last thing for the show that I want to talk about is some pandemic hobbies. This is going to be super quick. I might delve a little bit deeper into this. Maybe if I bring my wife on, we'll talk to her about some of this that we've been doing. But I've been mentioning on and off on the last couple episodes, like what I've been doing during the pandemic. And one of the hobbies that I picked up was baking. I baked every once in a while, but more or less I'm like a Nestle. I'll buy a pack of cookies or some pre-baked goods, or honestly pre-baked, but pre-dough just ready to pop into the oven goods. And that was the extent of what I bake. And it's not that I can't bake or didn't learn how or don't know all the ways, because I had home ec. I made some chocolate chip cookies before, right? But I have been jumping into baking a lot more. And my wife and I bought a big, huge mixer, KitchenAid mixer that we've been using. I've been using a little bit less since we've had our daughter, but before that, we were using it basically every weekend. We would bake something. We found some just amazing recipes. These vanilla cupcakes, Preppy Kitchen. Shout out to Preppy Kitchen because they have some awesome recipes. But we started there with these vanilla cupcakes that you make the icing. Obviously, everything is homemade. So the thing there was really the icing. And I also bought a kitchen scale most recently, about a month ago, and that has been game changer for baking goods. Like, I just didn't realize that how dense flour actually is when you just scoop it out of the cup and you put it in to your mix versus either fluffing the flour or getting a kitchen scale and weighing the flour. Makes it just a ton of difference. I remember I made a batch of cookies when my mom was visiting, where she tried it just normal without the kitchen scale. We got the kitchen scale, and then we baked the same type of cookies, which are snickerdoodles. And the first batch was tasted much heavier. They were still good, but it was much heavier, very noticeable difference in taste. And then the second batch, much lighter. They did not feel nearly as heavy, and that was all in the difference in the flour. And listen, I'm converted. Kitchen scales are the way to go when you are measuring for precision. You can either measure by grams, ounces, whatever you need, depending on the scale that you have. And it's just a real game changer for what we've been doing. But baking has been the go-to. Like, I want to say we do every week. We've probably made 12 weeks worth of things. Make cupcakes a lot. We've made full-blown cakes. My wife made this huge cake. I've done 2 batches of peanut butter cookies. I did 3 batches of snickerdoodles. And right now we're talking about, we haven't baked in a little while. It's probably been about a month. And we were talking about doing chocolate chip cookies. So look, it's been a thing that we've enjoyed. I packed on a little bit of weight, just a little bit, not too much. We try to do our evening walks, but I've been having a ton of fun. And I'm curious if anyone out there has picked up some hobbies like baking or reading or whatever have you. But that's pretty much it for today's show. Let me know what you think about the topics. And until the next time, folks, catch you all later. Peace.